Good morning, everybody. Welcome to TADTalk once again. I'm here with Nick. How are you doing, buddy?
I am good. How are you doing?
Very good. You see that picture behind you?
I do. I see that one better, but I see this one too.
That one behind you was taken about 25 years before you were born. The guy was spectacular, but his career's not limited to tennis, which we're going to find out today. And just in case you're wondering what else he's done, check out this video.
We're at a tiebreaker situation now. Vijay Amritraj won the first set 6-1. Now it's 6-all. Board serving in the far court.
1-0.
Service ace, Tony Traber.
They're fine gentlemen on the court. Really play the game well.
Fantastic forehand on the run down the line to get Borg even at 2-all in this sudden death. Second set.
20-year-old sensation from Madras, India, serving at 4-2. He needs one of these three serves to win the second set.
That's it. And he does it 5-2. And Vijay Amritraj goes ahead 2 sets to love of Bjorn Borg at 6-1, 7-6. 7 games to 6.
And there he is. What about that? James Bond, tennis. What a career. Welcome our special guest, Vijay Amritraj. Vijay, how are you?
Thank you. Thank you, Terry. Nick, good to see you guys.
Good to see you.
Nick, very nice to meet you.
Nice
over
to meet you.
Zoom.
Yes.
My first meeting over Zoom.
It's the new norm, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah.
It is. How have you been, Vijay? This has been a strange year, but how have you been?
You know, that's the thing. It's strange for everyone. You know, it's not like it's new just for 1 or 2 people. It's strange across the board, across the world. In my part of the world, in Southeast Asia, in the Middle East, and all of Asia. I mean, you know, each country is trying to do their own thing. It's being very kind of parochial in their thinking because they're protecting their citizens and all of that. So it's been a trying time for everyone across the world.
Yeah. Are you in contact with your friends and family in India?
Of course, absolutely, on a daily basis. Perfect timing, 12 and a half hours in time difference between Los Angeles and India, so I'm able to speak to them. My day normally starts about 4:35 in the morning, so I'm on the phone till about 10, 11 o'clock in the morning, and then go off to do all my outdoor activities, which includes tennis and golf and gym and pool and what you guys normally do in Arizona on a daily basis.
Yeah, but we do it at 2 in the morning. It's the only time we can. You mentioned playing tennis. Are you still playing tennis?
I try to play tennis because only if I play tennis, I get to eat Indian food at night.
Yeah. I do one of them, unfortunately, only one of them.
Oh, I didn't know you played tennis.
I'm sorry? Do I play tennis? Yeah. So the question is, do you play it with a racket that size or smaller, or do you use some of these new cheating rackets?
Well, you know, the funny thing is when I was on tour, obviously the head size of the racket was pretty tiny, and the sweet spot in the middle of the racket was even tinier. So you had to have real good concentration and timing to hit the ball.
Yeah.
But today the rackets are so much more expanded, so much more aerodynamic. The material that goes into it, it makes it so much easier. So it's easier on the back, it's easier on the shoulders, it's easier on the elbows when you're serving and all of that. So it makes it much easier to play with the rackets today. But I still get a very, very good cardio out of it.
You know,
That's the main.
let me think when this was. In the early 1980s, I played tennis nearly every day for about 6 months. I had a Prince racket, if I remember
Yes.
rightly, and I got fairly good. Now I have not picked up a tennis racket since 1985. So if you and I went on the court today, played 3 sets, what do you think the score would be, Vijay?
So I would play you in anything you were good at, as long as it was double or quits on the tennis court.
Yeah, exactly. Good answer. Well, we're going to start TAD Talk as we always do with one of Nick's random questions.
Yes.
And over to you, Nick. Random question for Vijay.
All right, Vijay, here's the question for today. If you could live anywhere in the world other than where you live right now, where would it be?
Wow. My home now is in Los Angeles, so obviously it's a wonderful place to live. Southern California is fantastic. The city of LA is great. It's suburbs everywhere, so you can kind of stay within your suburb if you want, or enjoy what Southern California has to offer. The weather obviously is good pretty much 12 months in the year, maybe a little bit of cold in January. But other than that, it's a great place to live. Outdoors, you can plan your activity. If you have small kids, you can take them everywhere during the weekends. Schooling is very good, and so on and so forth. So I love living where I'm living. Obviously, if there was an alternative or I lived somewhere else, and I came here for the first time to improve my tennis, to get better at what I wanted to do in the world of tennis. But as far as living elsewhere, I would probably just live in India.
Back in India? Yeah.
That's
I've never been to India, you know.
No?
I've got so many Indian friends from all over the years from being back in England. It is my favorite food, and we're definitely going to talk Indian food. But I've never been there, and I so want to go there. So maybe we arrange a trip where we can schedule it when we're there together, Vijay.
Yes, absolutely. You'd love it. And the Indian food, as you leave the West Coast, gets better. New York is better than LA, and London is better than New York, and Dubai is better than London, and Bombay is better than Dubai. So,
you know, I think I've told you this little story before. I'm not sure, but when we travel, especially when we're on the cruise ships, we go to all the ports, and we would invariably look for some local food, but also Indian food anywhere. And there's 2 places in the world that we found the best Indian food. Now, I've never been to India, so I'm not counting. But one was Stavanger in Norway, which is this tiny port, and they have there's one family there, and they have 2 Indian restaurants. And we went to both, and they were both spectacular. Do you remember that in Stavanger?
So good.
And
so
then,
good.
Then the other one is in Tallinn in Estonia, on the Baltic Sea. I don't know if you've been there, Vijay, but in the square in Tallinn, there's a little Indian restaurant. Do you know it?
No. I haven't been to the Indian restaurant. I've been in that part of the world.
Okay.
I just haven't been to the Indian restaurants. But you know, unfortunately, as much we get a little picky as we go along. And when you leave London, you really have to pick your foods. But once you go into an Indian restaurant, you can almost tell them what you like and how you want to make.
Yeah.
They tend to make it.
Absolutely.
So I can go without Indian food for about 24 hours. That's about it.
Yeah, I have a stash of poppadoms in my office. Just poppadoms and chicken. Great stuff.
Good.
But let's touch on your tennis career. Back when you were playing small rackets, and some of what the iconic tennis players, I think, as time has gone by, with people like Jimmy Connors and Bjorn Borg, McEnroe, and so on. What are some of your vivid memories in some of the games you played? I know there was a big one against Bjorn Borg, but are there any other games that come to your forefront as being very memorable for you?
Well, certainly, Terry, there were lots of them. And excuse me, my first major claim to fame was at 19 years old, reaching the quarterfinals of the US Open in New York, and the first Indian to be on American television on CBS. I ended up beating Rod Laver in the 3rd round of the US Open. Obviously, that put me on the map worldwide, and then my career kind of took off from there. but great matches against Borg and Connors and McEnroe, all the guys of my generation, though McEnroe was a bit younger. But Jimmy and I still are very much in close touch. He did a very wonderful Instagram live with me a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
We talked, an hour and a half wasn't enough to talk about the stuff that we normally talk about.
Yeah.
But we do end up playing some golf together today, and nowadays he's a good golfer. Bjorn I see every summer, of course, in London and Europe. And McEnroe in and out of Los Angeles and New York, of course. So we catch up now and then, but those are the three best guys of my generation.
Yeah. And what about, I'm sure, personally as well as professionally, your success in the Davis Cup must be one of the highlights, right?
Well, interestingly, it just came up to the forefront today on Tennis Channel, as a matter of fact, because we were talking about, at least Prakash, my son, was on Tennis Channel talking about social injustice and Naomi Osaka pulling out of the day's matches last week at the Western and Southern tournament that was being moved from Cincinnati to New York because of what had happened in Kenosha, Wisconsin, and so on in Portland, Oregon. So I think that came up because of 1974. India defaulted in the Davis Cup final against South Africa because of apartheid there at the time.
Yeah.
And then many, many years later, I went on to speak at the UN as the 25th anniversary of the Special Committee Against Apartheid in South Africa. And a couple of years later, of course, apartheid fell in that country, a system that was abhorrent in the first place. So I think all of those things are coming to the forefront. The US Open is on as we speak.
Yeah.
It finishes on September the 13th. So we're following that very closely. We've been doing some live updates on our own, Prakash and I, because he's been on Tennis Channel for quite some time now. So I've done a lot of television for our part of the world. So we try to mix it all out. But yes, I think from a Davis Cup perspective, I was very fortunate to play for almost 20 years, 22 years on the tour, and having, obvious wins against Connors, Borg, McEnroe, Lendl, Wilander, and all these guys of my generation, including Stan Smith, Orley, all these guys. So I was very, very fortunate with a long and good career.
No, absolutely. It's and I've known you for a while, but watched some of those games, and you were pretty good with that racket.
Yes. Fortunately, the way if you see me play golf, I didn't play golf for a living.
You did or you did not?
Fortunately, I did not.
Without getting too political, you mentioned Wisconsin and Portland. It's such a tragedy we live in a world. COVID, I think, has exaggerated everything, and I sure hope we get past this racism garbage that is just kills so much of what is good about life. And we've lived, as you know, with it for decades, apartheid and way before that. So I'm hoping we can get past 2020 and start fixing some of those things with something a little more than a Band-Aid. I sure hope so.
Yes,
sure
exactly.
Hope so.
Exactly.
When we come back after the break, we're going to talk to Vijay about his acting career, which was pretty spectacular. And I'm sitting next to a James Bond fan, so this will be interesting. We'll see you after the break. Don't go away.
Welcome to TAD Creative Studios, Arizona's state-of-the-art creative facility. We are a turnkey operation, so you're not wasting any time on setup. Simply show up and start rehearsing a recording. We offer our on-the-fly video switching and editing, meaning you can walk away with the edited footage the very same day. We can come to your location, and our setup is ready-made for indoors and outdoors. Our 30-foot LED video wall provides the perfect backdrop for bands and entertainers. The results are amazing. Create your next YouTube presentation on our multifunction interview set. Over 20 years experience creating and producing the most effective scissor reels in the market. TAD Creative Studios. Check it out for yourself.
And we're back with part two with our special guest, Vijay Amritraj. We're going to talk all things acting and particularly all things James Bond. Now, I've got a question for you. I know you're a big James Bond fan. Two questions. First of all, what is your all-time favorite, got to pick one, James Bond movie?
Well, I am a big James Bond fan, but I'm fairly new to it. I haven't seen all the movies yet, but I'm getting closer to getting all of them under my belt. And honestly, I love all the old ones, but Skyfall was just amazing. The villain in that was top
Skyfall?
notch.
All right.
So good.
So you said you haven't seen them all. Name one you haven't seen.
Funny,
you want to see.
funny enough, I haven't seen Octopussy.
Oh, no.
I know.
Wrong answer.
Of all the movies to mention.
I know. I should have done my
Well,
research.
But in Nick's defense, I have to say that Skyfall was spectacular.
Yes.
And, interestingly, it was really unfortunate because that opening scene in Skyfall, if you remember, Nick, the one with the on the train.
Yeah.
And, that scene was actually written by Sam Mendes to shoot in India,
Oh, really?
Wow.
and eventually it couldn't be done there for just some obvious reasons, but just from a permissions perspective or whatever. So they ended up doing it in Istanbul. But what a spectacular scene that was, that opening scene.
Amazing way to open, and the beginning and the closing of that movie are two of the best in Bond history. It's just so good. But Octopussy, are we beeping this out, by the way, or no?
We're not beeping Octopussy out.
Okay. But Octopussy looks like an incredible movie.
It is a great movie. They had some great actors in there.
Who is the Bond in that movie?
Who is the Bond in Octopussy?
Yeah.
Sir Roger Moore.
Is it Roger Moore? Nice.
Yeah. How was it working with Roger Moore, Vijay?
Sir Roger Moore, of course. That was the first time I ever met him when I walked on set. And he was in the middle of a scene, hundreds of people in the set, and it was at Pinewood in London. And I walked on with my very dear friend Barbara Broccoli, who's the daughter of Cubby Broccoli, the late Cubby Broccoli, produced all the pictures. And of course, she produces them now with Michael Wilson. Yeah. And I walked on, I stood in the background, both of us were waiting for the scene to finish. And the scene was in progress, and suddenly Roger sees me from across the set and walks straight off, right off the set, right in my direction. And then obviously the director shouts, cut, 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 because he literally walks off set. And he comes straight up to me and says, Vijay, we're delighted you said yes. I'm delighted to be working with you.
Wow,
and,
that's awesome.
And that was his opening line to me. And I was thinking to myself, oh my God, this man is such a huge star. How am I going to manage and be normal just doing something with him? And he just put me at ease right away. The nicest man in the world.
Good for
that's
you.
Great.
How was two questions. How did you get the gig? And then what was the experience like just filming? But how did you get the gig originally? How did you get that part?
Interestingly, when they were writing the script and they were going to shoot, the villain was supposed to be from Afghanistan and India or whatever, and they were going to shoot portions of it in India. And they were looking at an Indian actor to play the role, and apparently they checked out hundreds of them and they couldn't come up with the one they were really looking for from Cubby's perspective. And then they saw me play at Wimbledon, and they said, "Well, listen, let's talk to him. He looks like the kind of guy who really fit the part. I wonder if he's done any acting." So after my match at Wimbledon, they kind of brought me up to have tea with him. Barbara did, and said, "Have you done any acting?" And I said, "No. All the acting I've done has been on the tennis court." So,
My God.
So they said, "Would you mind doing a screen test?" And I thought to myself, and I said, "Listen, who could say that you worked at Pinewood in the morning and played at Wimbledon in the afternoon?" So that's why I said, "Okay, I'll do the screen test." John Glenn directed the screen test. They brought in an American actor by the name of James Brolin to do the screen test with me. I did it at Pinewood. A few days later, they called me and said, "Listen, we'd like to sign you for 4 people."
That's fantastic.
That's so
cool. Good. How was that whole experience? Just the experience of being on the set and with Sir Roger and all that stuff. Was it just...
Well, the first thing that strikes you is how ridiculously professional this whole unit is. I mean, it's like a well-oiled machine. I did 11 weeks in London and 3 weeks in India on the movie. And my London weeks were 5 a.m. to 11 p.m. every day. We didn't really see light of day, because it was dark when we went in there and dark when we came out. And it was just the most amazing experience to be able to work with these professionals. And everything was just done so, everything was perfect. Everyone knew where he needed to be and she needed to be and what they needed to do on set, from the grip, the go for every single person, not just the quarterback who's the director. And needless to say, Roger was sort of the driving force of being that kind of personality and star that he was. And of course, the cherry on the cake was the fact that I had to work with 32 Miss Universes and Miss Worlds who were in the movie.
Yeah, God, that must have been really difficult.
For a single man of my age, yes, it was very difficult.
Crazy stuff. So I'm going to put you on the spot here, Vijay, now. So what I like to do with some guests is ask them some of the questions where I know they really don't want to give me the answer. So here we go. Who is the #1 James Bond of all time? You can only pick one.
Well, in what regard? In my view?
In your view, who's the greatest James Bond actor?
Well, it's hard to be objective on it because I worked with the one man in a picture, and he was the most delightful human being I'd ever met. So I would obviously go with Roger, because he came after to follow a very, very tough person to follow, who actually created the character, was Sean Connery, who just turned 90 last week.
Wow, yeah.
Magnificent birthday for him. I spent time with George Lazenby. I've done events with Daniel Craig. I did events with Timmy Dalton, and I played golf with Pierce Brosnan. So I kind of know most of them, some better than others. But Roger was my favorite because I spent so much time with him. But Sean was the one who created the character.
Yeah, my favorite is Roger too. I'm not saying it just for the show. I think he brought an elevated British aristocracy feel to the vibe. I thought it was.
By the way, sorry to interrupt, Terry, but he was Ian's first choice. Ian Fleming's first choice was Roger Moore.
Is that right?
Yes. So he was doing The Saint at the time. So Cubby wanted Sean because of his sex appeal and so on, and Dana Broccoli, Barbara's mother, Cubby's wife, said yes, that he has in spades. So they got him to do it. He hadn't really done much of acting before that.
Wow!
And even that iconic scene in the first one, Dr. No, when he comes around at the baccarat table and says those famous words, didn't realize how iconic that was going to become at the time.
Wow. Yeah. Here's a trivia question for Nick, Vijay. Ian Fleming wrote the James Bond.
Chitty Bang Bang.
Oh, you knew the answer.
I knew the question.
Ian Fleming wrote Chitty Bang Bang.
Yes.
All right.
Boom. All right, I was ready for that one.
These questions are a little more difficult, Vijay. You can only pick one. Who was the greatest female tennis player of all time? And who was the greatest male tennis player of all time?
Interestingly, I think they both might belong to this generation, believe it or not.
To this generation?
Yes. I think if you put the women at the top, you'll have to probably go with Serena Williams at the moment. She has 23 majors. Margaret Court has 24, and we're waiting for her to win her 24th. But Margaret played, obviously, a lot of it before tennis went open in '68. Amongst the men, I like saying Rod Laver, who was of my generation and before my generation, because he won two official Grand Slams. But the man with the most number of majors is the great Roger Federer. So you'd have to perhaps go with Federer up to today's generation. So Federer and Serena Williams is kind of hard to compete with.
You know, you watch it on tennis. I got to watch Federer just once up close, and the speed of the game is something you don't pick up off the TV. The speed of today's game, it's so fast.
Yeah.
Have you? Go ahead.
I have a question. Yeah, you can only pick one. What is your favorite Bond theme song?
Oof.
Good one. Very, very good one. Good question, Nick. Well done.
Thank you. I added something to the conversation. This is great.
I like Sheena Easton in For Your Eyes Only.
Nice.
It was going to win. It was nominated for an Academy Award that year, and we all thought it was going to win. And it lost out, if my memory serves me correctly, it lost out to Christopher Cross, the theme song from Arthur.
Yeah.
Yeah, which was also a great
If you
song.
remember that song. But yeah, I think that Sheena Easton, For Your Eyes Only, was a marvelous song. I mean, all of them were great. I mean, I can't wait to hear this one that's come out now. Obviously, the movie hopefully will open in November.
Yeah.
No time.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you answered Sheena Easton, because Sheena's going to be a guest on our show next month. So,
wonderful.
So I can refer to this and say, well, Vijay chose you. What's your favorite James
I was going to
Bond?
ask you next.
Mine is, I was going to say Sheena, but it's probably Live and Let Die.
Live
Paul
and Let Die
McCartney
is
and
so
Wings.
good. That's
Yes,
another great one.
Outstanding. Well, question for you, Terry.
Yeah.
If you had to pick one, the best musician of all time.
Oh boy. Well, this is I've been asked this question many times, and I always come to who is my favorite, because it's so hard. There's so many genres. You got people like Oscar Peterson, who's incredible, and then vocalists who are up there. So I think I'm going to say Frank Sinatra, because how iconic he is and has lasted the test of time. But my favorite entertainer, musician, performer of all time is Gilbert O'Sullivan. I'm not joking. People go, why are you picking Gilbert O'Sullivan? Gilbert O'Sullivan is for me, he's incredible. His lyrics are amazing. And I know I'm in one of those very few sit in the corner and still say, I like Gilbert. But yeah. What would be your answer to that, Vijay?
Favorite musician of all time? I was going to go with Frank, because My Way is my favorite song. But you know, I mean, when I walk in anywhere to do a corporate event or any of that nature, they either play the Bond theme or they play My Way, because they know it both.
That's great. What about you?
I'm going to answer both questions, the Bond one and this. I'll answer the musician one first. It's got to be Billy Joel.
Okay.
That's an easy answer for me. He's always been number one for me. And for the Bond theme, I was going to say the amazing Goldfinger, but I'm not going to say that, because I also thought of a different one that is probably my favorite, which is Nobody Does It Better. Nobody Does It Better. Incredible song. So that's probably my favorite.
Love Me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
By
many
the way,
great.
who wrote the lyrics to My Way? Do you know that one?
The lyrics to My Way were written by, the English lyrics were written by Paul Anka.
Paul Anka is correct.
Yes.
Nice.
Yeah, we didn't catch each other out. This has been a great show. Thanks so much for coming on it, Vijay.
Thank you, Terry. Nick, great being with you guys. Good luck with further shows. Good luck for the rest of this year. We hope all of it come through it safe and healthy, and we get back in your studio in Phoenix.
Yeah.
Well, when you come to Phoenix or when we come to LA, it's high on my list of priorities. One thing you and I have never done together, and that is sit in an Indian restaurant and you order for me.
Bring a lot of tissue with you.
Yeah, I will. It's been great. To everyone watching the show, thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you on the next episode. Thanks, Nick, of TADTalk. Take it easy, guys. Bye.
Bye-bye.